Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the entire United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of the internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, controlled now by the billionaires, but created by we, the people. We the people, created by you. Folks, for those who wonder why I always start with ARPANET, right? Because that is representative of what happened or what has happened or what has been happening in this country. The populace, the people, the masses, ceding their power, ceding their rights, ceding their being to a few who snowed them. One of the real purposes of Politics Done Right is to tell us all to remember nobody can empower you. You are already empowered, but you have to make the choice to use said empowerment. Without further ado, let's go to the place where the geniuses reside, and that's the studios of KPFT with the one and only Howard Reynolds and Van Beba. Good morning,
Jack
brothers.
Jack always deserves top billing. I'm just the guy that wanders in off the street and pushes buttons.
We like to share. We share the wealth, man. We're a sharing, collaborative type of folk, man. Come on, man.
Age before beauty. Age before.
Well, thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. Friday morning at the radio, the 23rd of May, 2025, and we are in Pledge Drive, folks. We want you to become a member of KPFT and support this radio station. And Jack, you got some wisdom for us? I have no rants today. I think I'm just going to be quiet and sit over the corner.
He's rantless.
Yeah. Got some wisdom for us, man?
Yeah. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
You know that big working class theft bill that's going through, that big destructive grand theft, costly enslaving bill.
That's being nice.
It does Robin Hood in reverse. It robs from the workers to give to the rich. Citizens, you're being enslaved. The future means you'll be paying more and more in taxes or terror if, as our billionaires administration is cutting your benefits, your Medicaid, Medicare, your Social Security, your SNAP, your school lunch programs. They are extorting the people financially to pay for tax breaks for the rich. America, you are under the influence of fascism. You better wake up.
Oh, there's something even more insidious in that bill, too.
Ooh.
Yeah, there is. Read the part about the courts.
Oh, God. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's big time. That is everywhere. People are screaming like crazy about that because it's going to limit the courts. It says, well, they're going to move everything underneath the president and the courts will have no power at all and he will be deciding everything.
There goes your protection.
Well, our protection's been pretty flimsy so far.
No doubt.
All right, Egberto, you got a great show for us. And let's introduce our interim general manager. He's on the line. The tin cans and string have reached his house. Can you hear me now? Well, maybe he can't hear me now.
I don't know if he can hear you, or maybe he's off getting his coffee. You know, he needs to wake up. He's not used to waking up like you and I and Jack this early to get this stuff done, you know?
Oh, he would never miss the beginning of the show. I guess I'd better check on him and make sure he's okay. So what you got for us today?
Well, let me go ahead and get started. Folks, today, look, you may wonder why we just concentrate on this bill day in, day out, day in, day out. And let me give my mea culpa first to say this. The one thing that is understood is that this, right now, things are time sensitive. The other thing to be understood is that every day we get listeners in that have never listened before. We get folks in that would just go ahead and drive. They're driving through Houston and they turn on KPFT and by accident they find it and they stick with it. Let me just tell you a little story. There's a trucker that drives through Houston who is also an inventor, and he sent me a note the other day saying, "Hey, I'd like to love your show. Anytime I'm driving through Houston, I check it out." love to talk to you about some stuff that I've actually designed or whatever. I mean, you would not imagine some of the folks that accidentally finds you and stick with you and then becomes sort of like a family. So let me just say that one of the reasons we are concentrating and sticking on this issue is it is vital. Not only it is vital, once whatever resolves out of this new bill will affect your personal economy for a long time to come. Because a lot of the things, the destruction we call it, that occurs is not easily recovered from. The tariffs is not easily recovered from. There's a lot of stuff in the chain already that is irreversible. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But beforehand, I think Sandy's available now, or?
Not yet. The tin cans and string did not make it to his house.
Okay, well, no problem. No problem. Let me go ahead and give a starting pitch then. I usually prefer when the interim manager does the first part of the pitch because, I'm terrible at this. But here's what I'd like to say. At KPFT, we have to kiss. This is a station that's been on air for a long time, 55 years. It's a public station. And we have a lot to cover, folks. So a lot of times when people hear you're in Fund Drive, the first thing they do is tune out. We have a lot of material to cover. So Don't tune out. The station, one small Houston station with a huge reach around the country. And the people that work here put in a lot of their hearts. Most of the people are volunteers. They put their hearts into doing what's right. Glenn says, Egberto, should we do coffee again and invite Brian? Absolutely. Absolutely, Glenn. And Brian, if you're listening, Ryan is a good guy. And by the way, while you hit me up from the right, Glenn hits me up from the left. So I tell you what, we'll have a good, nice, several cups of coffee. Actually, when I did coffee the last time with Glenn, we had we'd had many cups of coffee. So, Glenn, absolutely so. And Brian, we'd love to have you, all three of us sit down and have some coffee. Jacqueline Campisi from Katy, Texas is here with us. Good morning, Jacqueline. We also have Joe from Los Angeles, California with us in the chat. And oh my God, for the Substack, we're just flooded. So thank you all, beautiful people. Lana Foley, Ellen Consu, Jane Berry, Micah, Eileen, John, Chris, Diane, Rory, Sally, Cheryl Elkins, Peggy Shot, LB, Shushako, Hart, Jude Hart, Kate Wiley, Adam V says, Cafe Bustelo is better. Okay, whatever you tell me is good, I'll take your word. Anyway, folks, let's get busy here, and then we'll go back to Sandy a little bit to get some more pitching done. Okay, I want to start this way. Like I said, we have to be on this subject. Our charter is to educate, and that is our intent, and as objectively as possible. People talk about folks having ideologies. That's true. My ideology is a very left ideology, a very progressive ideology. I think I can prove that most people, most Americans, actually are in the same space that I am in, but that culture and other things would have you believe that we are not on the same page. And I think with my program, I've shown several times that, in fact, a lot of people that call themselves right-wingers, a lot of people that call themselves MAGA, you'd be surprised, other than social issues like abortion and certain things within religion, you sit back and like, oh man, I agree with that. Oh man, I want that. So I ask all of you to always listen with an open mind, as I try to listen to everyone with an open mind. All right. Walmart is slashing 1.5 K corporate jobs. And this article from The Hill is important, and I'm going to explain a little bit why. It says, retail giant Walmart is slashing 1,500 corporate jobs after the company announced last week it plans to raise prices due to looming tariffs. I stop. Donald Trump told everybody that tariffs. There's a reason for his tariffs, and the reason for his tariffs is to bring back manufacturing here to the United States. And if you make your product here, there's no tariff. But that wasn't the truth, and the way we know that wasn't the truth. And by the way, he also said the foreign companies paid the tariffs. That could never be the truth. The reason you put tariffs on is to create inflation on the products that you're bringing in from overseas. Because if you create inflation, if you raise the prices of the products that you're bringing overseas, that means local companies would start to say, okay, if they're buying that product at that inflated price, I can make it in America. And since the price is higher, I can make a profit on that price. So you want, when Donald Trump puts tariffs on, when anybody puts tariffs on a foreign product, they want you to pay more for that product to give incentive to local companies to build that product over here. So, of course, it is hypocritical then for Donald Trump to tell Walmart, when Walmart says we're raising prices, to not raise prices, to eat the profit. Why? Because that would change nothing. If Walmart eats the profit and the American people pay the same price for the product, there's no reason for a local company to make that product. Why? Because the price, as far as the people see, is the same. You might say Walmart may stop buying the product. Well, that only makes sense if it's a few products that Walmart buys from overseas. The problem is if you go into a Walmart store, it's hard to find a product not made in China. So Walmart is not going to just say, well, I'll stop buying this product. They will just do what tariffs are intended to do, and that is raise prices. And that's what Walmart says it has to do. Now, because of that, and because Walmart may not want to raise prices as much, what Walmart will have to do is, yes, lay off a few executives. Those are some high-paid employees. But there's something else they'll have to do. They'll have to lay off some local, smaller employees as well. And what that means is you pay in many ways. You're going to pay in higher prices of the products at Walmart, but you're also going to pay in poorer service at Walmart. If you're going to buy onions and bell peppers at Walmart, you may not see much difference in service because you don't need any help. But you'll see a higher price in those avocados that are coming in from Mexico, the pasta that's coming in from Canada. You'll get higher prices on that. So there is a lot to these tariffs that's going to occur, but it will mean that you will have the American people, everybody who shops at Walmart will have higher prices that you'll pay. It'll reduce your financial well-being. That's a statement of fact. Now, Walmart's global chief officer and John Furner, the president and CEO of Walmart, wrote in a memo that these changes are mainly focused on driving efficiency in the end corporation and operations team, ensuring we are serving them so they can best serve our customer. We are also evolving the structure of our Walmart Connect marketing organization to position us for future success as we continue to grow our business. Now, this company has over 4,600 stores. Within the article, they said, irrespective of what the president says, we cannot get away from raising prices on you. So your prices will be raised. So based on our current economic model, based on what we say, based on who we elected, what you were promised is you're going to get diametrically the opposite of that promise. And the reason why, again, is because the central tenet of this current administration is, one, put tariffs on products under the guise of building more factories locally to produce it. Corporations will not build textile factories, which is all the clothes that you buy in Walmart. They won't grow bananas because you don't grow bananas in mass in the United States. So it made no sense to apply tariffs to things like bananas, tomatoes, and avocados, things that come from overseas that we don't intend to ever. Our farmers are not going to grow more avocados other than in San Diego area where there's a drought constantly. So no. So putting tariffs on these types of products mean just an increase in cost to you. And here's the truth. It was the way to fund the tax cuts that Donald Trump is passing for the wealthy. And you know that because he's putting tariffs on things that will never, ever be built here, will never, ever grow here, will never do things. So that money that they're collecting for that is a direct transfer of the working class, the poor, and everybody else to the rich. So I hope you can see that pattern right there. Collecting from you, because these are tariffs that will never go away. On banana, we're not growing bananas in the United States. So we'll always pay a tariff for banana. There's no banana factory that's coming to the United States. That money that you pay extra for that banana goes into the treasury. And by going into the treasury, having the tax cuts for wealthy people, then that money goes directly into your pocket. From your work, you work every day, you give the government that money in tariffs, and the government says, okay, Bezos, you pay less taxes than what you should, because those people that are buying your Amazon products, those people that are buying your Walmart products, that makes you rich, will also simply donate money to you as they suffer more. You have to see the connections so that you're not snowed by the media, you're not snowed by these politicians, and understand why they always place the issues on you. It seems like we have some callers, and what I'm going to ask the callers is to limit to 90 seconds because we're in Fund Drive and we have a whole lot to go through. I also want to welcome MST Marie, who says, happy Friday morning. Thanks for helping us start our day with common sense politics. Harry Denson says, Egberto, you, Sandy Wyman, and Howard Reynolds, and Jack Van Viver have a wonderful me. We definitely have a wonderful Harry. Yes, sir. Let's see. And Eric Hayes from Kingwood, thank you so kindly for being here. Let's go to Patrick, then Betty, then Peter. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning, and thank you for the countdown. That always helps, I believe. We had some restrictions on technology that we were going to keep from trading with some people like China, their allies like the United Arab Emirates. A lot of that was chip technology and electronics that was intended to keep an edge on the global economy for the United States. That is now in the past tense. That was an exchange of Trump coins with the United Arab Emirates, and now we are going to give them whatever they like, and they're going to copy it and give it to China. List of states and go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The list of cities and states that are getting damaged by hurricanes. 2024 was one of the most violent hurricane seasons ever. 2025 is on path to exceed it. With NOAA running at approximately 60% of its staff, and the privatization of warning systems, that to me looks like intentional assault on the United States. Both of these actions seem to indicate that the person leading us has no interest or keeping America first and is intentionally hurting us. That's my 90 seconds.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And it makes a lot of sense. Let's go to Betty. Come on in, Betty. See you at 3, Patrick. Let's go to Betty.
Good morning, Alberto.
Good morning,
on
beautiful. Talk to me.
Okay. On Walmart, I blame electronics from all of it. They snowballed it, and that's where we are with that. But Walmart is in a stage of what to do. But before, every day when they open their door and close it, they have shoplifters in there walking through the door, and they have professional shoplifter goes in there. They walk through the door too, and they know exactly what they're going to get and put in their buggy. And to make in the self-service they've been shut down for about 3 months, or maybe 2 or 3 months, and that's what was from stealing. So they have a big problem with that, and coming up of firing the people there, that's bad, because the people work there, they need that insurance, because a lot of them have cancer, a lot of them have so many other problems, and they have to work so they can get the insurance. And that's really bad. But I shopped Walmart for 23 years. Cheap, one-stop shop, and that's good for me. And they're very the closest store.
Betty,
yeah, and
I'm trying to hold to 90 seconds, but Betty, you're so right. A lot of people do have to go to work and work at those wages for that insurance. Sad. But again, these are the things we're trying to mitigate. Betty, I got to go, but I love you, girl, and we'll talk another day. Okay, thank you so kindly. Let's jump.
Cheap electronics called the cheap and throwaway. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sis. Let's go to Peter. Come on in, Peter. 90 seconds.
Thank you, Egberto. Yes, this is Peter Philly, your Democratic candidate for Congress here in Houston, Texas. And I've got, how the pendulum swings. So I've got 2 events for your listeners and yourself to get involved. As you know, we currently have a stockbroker as our representative in D.C., and there's starting next Thursday, there's going to be a weekly get-together at the corner of Kingwood Drive and Green Oak Drive. It's called Dan Crenshaw Weekly Demonstration. So this is something new. It's provided by Indivisible here in Houston. So you all can sign up at mobilize.us. So look for that. It's a Dan Crenshaw Weekly Demonstration. It's going to be every Thursday from 10 to noon. We'll be out there demonstrating. So of course, be a candidate to trying to unseat Dan Crenshaw. You'll see me out there, as well as one more thing I got for you listening audience is going to be Beto O'Rourke. And 1 week from yesterday, he's going to be at the Humble Civic Center for a town hall meeting from 6 to 8. So I invite you all to come out, meet me. I'll be there, of course, hear from Beto O'Rourke, bring your questions. It's a town hall to hear about how are we gonna get that pendulum to swing back in our favor, in the Democrats' favor, because right now we're living in unprecedented times, as you know, Egberto and listeners. It's a constitutional crisis. The rule of law out the window. And
thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. Got to go. 90 seconds. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Call back tomorrow. But you keep doing the great job, Peter. Keep doing a good job. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy.
Morning, Egberto. I want to talk about the things that the Trump administration is doing that I don't like at all. This Kristi Noem, she's on TV every day telling immigrants that they're going to be fined $1,000 a day if they don't turn themselves in. To me, that sounds like a very racist policy they're having up there, and I think they ought to shut her down. Also, she doesn't even seem to know what the word due process means. She thinks it gives the president the right to do whatever he wants to do, and that's totally false. I don't like the Trump administration going after Harvard University, one of our top universities. He's a very vindictive person, and he's going after a wonderful university. On the other side, one thing I do like about Trump, he seems to be trying to stop the killing in these wars, and he did make a phone call to Putin, although that was very good. It wasn't productive, but at least he's making the effort to try to stop the war in Ukraine, which is all on Putin. So,
thank you, my brother.
President.
Jimmy, thank you so kindly, my dear brother Jimmy. Got to jump to Bruce. Let's go to Bruce. Bruce, 90 seconds.
Yeah, I'll make it. Good morning. Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, brother.
Morning. I'll make it pretty fast. When Trump did his fake trap on that African leader with the phony genocide, Trump never set a trap for Putin and accused him of genocide, which bombing schools and hospitals is genocide. So that's a baloney. As far as the attack on Noah, that's part of a pattern of attack on science in general. Science just means knowledge. And if the masses acquire knowledge, that's poison to Trump. Keep the masses ignorant. I'm ignorant, but I'm learning. I'm done.
Thank you so kindly, Bruce. And you're not ignorant. I want to give a big thank you to Joe. Joe is the first donation of the day. We're still about quite a bit short. So I ask you to give us a call, actually a lot short. Give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Please give whatever you can. And remember, Politics Done Right is a program. Brian, 90 seconds.
Yeah, no, I'm here. It just came on. I hope everybody pays some money to listen to the program. Donate. I used to. Okay, you had somebody that came from Chicago, went to New York City, went in with a pistol, shot and killed 2 innocent people, left, came back, and started yelling, "Free, free Palestine." Where's the news coverage on that?
All over. The reason you know about it, it's all over. It's all over MSNBC. It's all over the thing. I am not covering it because, again, it's all over. I cover a lot of. Okay, go ahead. What else you want to say, Brian?
No, it's not. No, it's not all
Brian,
over MSNBC.
Use your 90 seconds effectively, brother. What else you want to say?
Okay. There was a mayor in Chicago walked up and said, "No, we only hire black people." He's now under investigation for racist tactics. So it's not only white people that does racism, It works
all
both
right,
ways.
So let me clarify that, Miss. Look, we can't get lies on the air, Brian. That is definitely not true. That is not what the mayor of Chicago said. And by the way, I know the mayor of Chicago personally. Have a good day, Brian. Please don't lie on air. Let's go to Harry. Come on in, Harry.
Good morning, Egberto. I heard you read my chat there.
Use your brother Harry. Use your 90 seconds effectively. What is it that you want to say, my brother?
All right. Okay. What I want to say is I was on a show called On the Middle, and they were talking about if not DEI, what do we replace it with? So I explained it on NPR. It's very difficult when people are taught racism and taught prejudice to replace DEI and just based on merit. I just basically said that Donald Trump and this administration wants to resegregate America because we are a diversified multicultural society, and you're going to have to people are going to have to stop being taught racism, and if they have the qualifications, regardless of what their ethnic background looks like, or what their ethnic background makeup is, if they're capable of doing the job, then they can do the job. And if we have all ethnic groups equal, then we will, we'll treat people accordingly, regardless of what their ethnic background is. Guys, have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Harry. Harry, you have a wonderful day. See you at 3:00. Thank you so kindly, my brother. I want to it takes 5 minutes here to cover a very important issue. It's an article that I thought was so well written. Michael Lewis, the person who created the nonfiction, The Big Short, The Blind Side, Moneyball, and many other programs, said to get to people, you really have to know how to tell a story. And he's so right. And I found a story, a story on Common Dreams that really points out how bad the the big, beautiful bill is and why it is urgent. If folks don't see what it's about, to learn what it's about so they can do something about it, so that they can use their empowerment to do something about it. Imagine a woman in her late 20s raising a young kid and working 2 jobs. One weekday morning, she waits tables at a cheer diner just off the highway. On weekends, she picks up banquet shifts at a hotel near the airport. Some weeks she hits 40 hours. Most weeks she doesn't. Her schedule is built around whoever else calls off, whichever babysitter shows up, and how many tips she can put in with customers. Don't walk out of the check. She's not lazy. She's tired. She's not failing. She's just barely holding on. She doesn't ask for much, just enough to stay ahead of the next crisis. This is a regular average working person in America. One sick day, one bounce check, one broken car door, and it all starts to unravel. Like nearly 60% of Americans, she's living paycheck to paycheck. This isn't some outlier story. It is the American norm, life for millions of workers whose labor keeps the country running, even as their budgets can't absorb a single emergency. Last week, she saw a headline: the new House budget plan would eliminate federal income tax on tips. She read it twice. Finally, something for workers like her. Finally, a win, she believes. But what she didn't see, what the headline didn't say, is that while she might have saved $100 come tax season, the same bill cuts the healthcare, food, and education programs that actually keeps her afloat. It's not a lifeline. It's a trade-off, and it's a bad one. Early Thursday morning, May 22nd, after a day of internal negotiations and public brinksmanship, the House narrowly passed a one big, beautiful bill, a 1,100-page tax and spending package drafted with support from the Trump House. Despite defections from within their own ranks, GOP leadership managed to push the bill through with no Democratic support and just enough Republican votes to avoid collapse. The measure moves to the Senate now, which is where you have the power to change it. The bill includes more than $3.8 trillion in tax cut, most of which go to the wealthiest households and largest corporations. It makes permanent the 2017 Trump tax cuts for the wealthy people, increase the estate tax for the wealthy people, and expands loophole for business. According to the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy, the top 1% of households would receive an average of annual cut of $79,000. Many people don't even make that, but that's what they get in tax cuts, $79,000. And the waitress, if she reports $10,000 in tips next year, she might see a refund of $700, but she might see nothing because the standard deduction she already has may make that $700 void. But here's what she could lose. And listen to this well. If her hours drop below 80 in a given month and she can't prove every one of them with pay stubs or her employer form, she could lose her Medicaid coverage. Under the latest version of the bill, these nationwide work requirements are no longer delayed until 2029. She don't make 80 hours in a month, she lose it. No more Medicaid. They are scheduled to take effect as early as next year. These requirements don't just ask that you work. They ask that you document it every month without gaps. Miss a report and your health insurance disappears. No phone call, no warning, just a closed file and an empty pharmacy counter. If she misses work because her kid's school is closed or a sitter falls through, she might lose supplemental nutritional assistance, SNAP, food stamps, especially if she doesn't fill out the right paperwork on time or fails to meet the new threshold. The revised bill raises the age limit for a mandatory work compliance. The moment her child turns 7, she's treated like someone with no caregiving capabilities. And for the first time in decades, states will be required to help fund those benefits if they can't. If she tries to go back to school to finish her associate degree she started, she may no longer qualify for a Pell Grant. You see, the bill raises the minimum course load for a full award from 12 credits to 15 credits. When I was in college, if I took heat transfer, fluid dynamics and kinematics. How the hell could I do more than 12 hours given the complexity of those courses? But what they want for her to know is the Pell Grant, we ain't giving it to you because we know you can't go 15 hours and work a full-time job. So that's a way of cutting Pell Grants without saying we're cutting Pell Grants. It's evil. For a working mother juggling jobs, that's just not a bar. That's just something she can't do. So here is the most important sentence this person have in this article. It says the following: this isn't a misunderstanding of how poverty works. It's a bet that most people won't notice until it is too late. It counts on workers like her being too busy, too tired, too stressed to read the fine print. It counts on the headlines focusing on the tip exemption, not the Medicaid paperwork that knocks off her coverage, not the missed deadline that shuts off her SNAP, not the registration block that forces her to drop out of community college. It makes the punishment quiet and the payoff loud. In other words, it tricks you. It fools you into believing you're getting something you won't. America. Understand this. A big thank you to Michael E. Thank you for that contribution. Derek, you got 90 seconds. Derek, my brother Derek, come on in 90 seconds.
Thank you. As soon as my money hit the bank, I'm paying. I'm sending it to you all, especially politics done right. But I just want to quickly say I agree with you, Egberto. Change the name to the big working class theft. When I was a child, the big mamas in the community would say, "There's nothing good out there, child, after 12 midnight." That bill was passed after 12 midnight. There's nothing good after midnight. I didn't know that the GOP has so many vampires and werewolves in it. And vampires suck blood, so they suck in the resources of the people. That's all I can say, bro. And I will be giving.
Thank you, man. Love you, brother. Appreciate you. I want to say something. Because the waitress at the diner won't get a press release when her SNAP balances goes to zero, she won't get a spotlight when her kid's lunch bill doubles, or when she pays more at Walmart, or when she pays more for everything that she is going to pay more for, so that money can go to those wealthy folks who get the tax cut. Nobody's giving her a press conference. So the poor suffer in silence. So the poor pays the bill. So the poor is just scattered. I mean, let me tell you something, folks. I mean, why do this? I can't believe how evil folks can actually be. We make it that our minimum wage doesn't pay the bills. We make it that you can't afford health insurance. You just have to wing it. And at the same time, for the people that have as much as they can and more and depend from you, we continue to give them. Where does evil end? People like to just say they're selfish. This is not selfishness, folk. Selfishness is selfishness. This is evil. This is the instantiation of evil. And the way that you cover it, the way that you put a facade over it so that people don't see that you're getting screwed, that is evil. Moses, 90 seconds. Moses, 90 seconds. Then we got to wrap up.
Okay, all I'm going to say, 90 seconds. Okay, all I'm going to say, what we're going through right now, it's not that we were not warned. This is a nation that is now beginning to understand that when the judgment of God is upon man, he will learn to do right. This is it. It will, there will be an end to all this mess.
Thank you so kindly, Moses. Those of you that are young enough to remember the Obamacare fights, the Affordable Care Act fights that began in 2009 through 2010, you will remember that there was a whole lot of stuff that happened, and eventually Senator Kennedy died. Eventually, we lost the seat in Massachusetts to that guy that drove around in his truck. I don't remember his name. But anyhow, it turns out that a big part of Obamacare bill passed, but an important section was unable to get passed because it was done in two pieces, right? Well, during that time, Nancy Pelosi, a great lawmaker, even though I have a whole lot of problems with her, she's a great lawmaker. She saved Obamacare. And how did she do it? They arranged it in such a manner that the pieces of the bill that was already approved by the Senate went through. The problem is there are parts of that bill, the part that did with the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, etc., that wasn't done with cloture. They had to do these other sections of the bill with what's called reconciliation. The problem with reconciliation is that it can be, any policies that are passed with reconciliation can actually be overturned. And that is exactly a lot of what the Republican Congress did today. So if you take a look at the Republican bill, you see all these cuts that are ultimately going to affect those people who dependent on Obamacare, the portion that was built through reconciliation. And I want you to hear how bad it is. First of all, a lot of insurance going to be gone. Number two, the deficit is going to explode. Number three, the amount of people that were saved, that became insured. Remember, Obamacare brought down insurance like no other. Look, I am for single payer Medicare for all, okay? Obamacare is not that. Obamacare is still a giveaway to insurance companies, but it is better than not having insurance. It is better than nothing. The problem is some people still believe in this capitalist free market crap that doesn't work in healthcare. But okay, that's what we got. And we got a lot of people on insurance. That said, what the Republicans are doing is dismantling that portion of it. And in the process, there are a lot of back doors that are dependent on it that affects Medicare and other parts of the program as well. I want you to listen to Steve Ratner. He's going to talk about the deficit. He's also going to talk about what's been cut. This bill is a disaster. Unfortunately, most of this disaster is going to affect the people who voted for Donald Trump. People in Appalachia, people that decided they became Trump supporters because I liked what he did before, as if he did anything that helped them before he didn't. But anyway, check this out and then we'll take it on the other side.
Let's talk about the deficit and what this House bill, if it does make its way through, if the Senate, which has said it's not going to vote, many Republicans for this, it's just too big. But if it does go through, what would it do to the deficit?
Yeah, as you can imagine, given what Ali just went through and all the lists of things that they're doing, the impact on the deficit is pretty significant. Let's just put some numbers on some of the cuts. First, the extension of the personal income tax reductions that were made during the 2017 bill and are set to expire this year, $2.2 trillion over 10 years, raising the standard deduction, $1.3 trillion, the child tax credit, $800 billion. And then you get into Trump's campaign promises, no tax on overtime, Carlos interest and tips, $200 billion, increasing defense spending. This is his attempt to take Social Security taxes away from seniors so they don't have to pay them by giving them a special deduction. And then you get into the cuts, the student loan changes, the climate funds, and Medicaid, $700 billion of Medicaid cuts. So what does that do to the deficit? Here is the baseline deficit. So even without this tax bill, the deficit was essentially going to keep going up over the next 10 years, maybe come down a little bit at the very end, but essentially up. Then you add in the tax bill that we just talked about, including the fact that they've played the same gimmick they played in 2017, setting up some of these things to expire, and that would make the deficit impact higher, but not as high as if you made all this stuff permanent. The record of Congress, stuff almost always gets made permanent. And so somewhere along in here, they will make this permanent and we'll end up on this line. And this line is something like $25 trillion of additional debt. Now, I do want to say that the other thing that happened yesterday, not as visible and consequential as these House votes, is the fact that the Treasury yields went up very, very sharply yesterday. The Treasury sold some 20-year debt. It didn't go well. The 30-year Treasury bond is now above 5%. What does that mean? That couldn't, well, it means higher rates for mortgage originators and things like that. But what it also means is potentially the bond market starting to say potentially $25 trillion of new debt over the next 10 years is more than we can absorb comfortably.
Yeah, Steve, it can't be overstated the importance of the bond market potentially weighing in here. Let's turn to your second chart with the headline simple but stark and telling. Tax cuts for the wealthy, spending cuts for the poor.
Yeah, Ali alluded to this as well, but let's put some numbers on this. If you're in the top 20% of Americans, you're going to get roughly a 3.7% increase in your after-tax income, really all from these tax cuts. But if you go all the way to the bottom and everything in between essentially leads you to the bottom, if you're in the bottom 20%, you actually lose $800. Why do you lose $800? You get a very small tax cut and you get a very large cut in Medicaid and these other benefits that we were just talking about that affects the 20% disproportionately. So this is a highly regressive bill that essentially favors the wealthy, doesn't do much for the middle class, and hurts the poor. And then if you want to see this in stark comparison, if we simply eliminated the tax cuts for people making over $500,000 a year, which is roughly what President Biden was proposing, it would save $1.1 trillion. That happens to be just slightly more than the Medicaid cuts and the food stamps or SNAP cuts, if you will, put together. So if we simply eliminated these tax cuts, we could eliminate these budget cuts on these poor people and end up, from a budget point of view, in the same place.
And Steve, let's turn to your third chart there. Tell us about the impact that this bill would leave on those with insurance.
Yeah, so again, as Ali alluded to, the budget cuts Medicaid in a variety of different ways. Some of it gets complicated. I'm not going to get into all the details, but the biggest piece of it is the work requirements, requiring people to, I think, work 80 hours or perform 80 hours of community service at least a month. Things like Ali mentioned also, checking Medicaid eligibility more frequently. There's making it more difficult for the states to get the Medicaid funds they're getting now. And then some Biden-era rules that made it easier to sign up for Medicaid, repealing those, so it becomes harder to sign up for Medicaid. So what does that mean? As Ali said, the estimates are 8.6 million Americans losing their health insurance. And what's interesting about this chart is if you go back over here, before Obamacare went into effect, when we had over 45 million uninsured Americans, it went down, 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 down. In here was Trump 1.0, with his first effort to impose work requirements on Medicaid recipients, so some people became uninsured. Down, down, down again, and now we're looking at taking it back up here and essentially reversing something like 10 years of progress in having fewer and fewer Americans without medical coverage.
So there you go. All the undoing of making the middle class a little bit better off. A decline, a transfer of the wealth from the working class to the rich. And the one thing that Steve Ratner didn't tell you there that he should, the deficit is going to be increased over that 10 years by $25 trillion. That is money that's going to have to be borrowed. The interest rate is going to go up because there's so much money being borrowed. People want more interest. Instead of paying 2% or 3%, it is now at around 5%. What does that really mean? That really means that our deficit, without getting any more services, is going to go way up because we're paying so much more to borrow the money. And by the way, guess who we're borrowing the money from? We are increasing these deficits to give these rich people more money. We are increasing these tariffs to steal your money and give it to the rich people. We're taking away health care so that these rich people can get a bigger tax cut. And with that money that they have saved, guess what these nice people are going to do? These beautiful, wealthy oligarchs, these beautiful, wealthy blue bloods, they are going to loan us that money at a higher interest rates so that we can pay for the other services that we have not yet cut. And for that, you get the honor of paying them your taxes right into their pockets, right into their homes on the Riviera. right into their yachts, right into their mansions. When are we as the working class? When are we as the intellects? When are we as the one who actually produce, the ones who actually invent, the ones who actually do the real work? When are we going to stop allowing them to have us look at a $400 million plane, have us look at the Afrikaners being refugee because of a genocide that doesn't exist? When are we going to stop looking at the smoke and mirrors that they have us preoccupied with? Oh my God, look who is harming you. When will we stop and see the light and focus at who is screwing us by creating fallacies, trends, and this and that with books and woke and critical race theory? All these things they throw at you to distract you so that you don't look and really see that the economic system is screwing you, so that you don't see that it's the corporations, the enslavement, the mental enslavement, the antiseptic slavery of you as an employee, as you as a dependent of a system that doesn't give a damn about you. Ali Vitali, a correspondent from MSNBC, breaks down the initial looks of the bill that just got passed, what's in the bill, and it's probably worse than what one believes. Now, this bill doesn't have to go through. We have to see if Donald Trump is going to bend the wrist, bend the hands, bend the whatever of the senators to force them to pass this bill. Well, he was pretty successful in the House. They made some little bit of changes here and there to the bill to get it through so that it would be face-saving for the Freedom Caucus. The Freedom Caucus was inconsequential, but, Trump gave them a little tick here. The Blue Caucus, the ones who wanted the SALT, the sales tax relief that for the blue states that have high taxes, etc., they gave them a little bit more, to appease them. But basically, the evil within the bill remains. Medicare cuts, SNAP cuts, cuts to green energy. I mean, it is an utter mess. I want you to listen to Ali Vitali, and then we'll come back on the other side.
700 pages of bill text, and then another 40 or so in that much anticipated manager's amendment, which has most of the compromises that Republicans made with leadership in it. It was a lot to parse through, but some of the top lines here. The first piece of this, the top line spending number around $4 trillion, about $2 trillion in cuts, but the actual debt increase is the piece of this that we've heard a lot about from hardline conservatives. According to the Joint Committee on Tax, a nonpartisan group that works with the Congressional Budget Office, $3.8 trillion increase to the debt because of this bill. In large part, that's because of the tax changes that are made here. Extending the 2017 Trump-set tax rates was a key priority. It's also one of the biggest things that adds to spending in this package. But another big point of contention was this SALT deduction cap. Now they've negotiated it that the cap will be $40,000. That's up from the $10,000 that was initially negotiated in 2017. That's a big win for people in blue states, people like Mike Lawler and others. So that was a key compromise point. Then also raising the child tax credit, no tax on tips. That was a big promise from President Trump during the campaign. Reforming IRS tax rules on U.S. hostages, personal privilege on this one because I brought you this story back in January. It basically means that if you are taken hostage or wrongfully detained, you're not going to get hit with some IRS fees on the back end of that detention because, of course, you couldn't have paid your taxes during that time. On energy and tech, terminating Biden-era clean energy credits, this was another point of contention. It now sounds like, according to the manager's amendment, this is going to happen sooner rather than later. That might placate some Republican members who were initially unhappy. Also, investing in U.S. AI infrastructure is another piece in the energy and tech sector. On healthcare, and this is what we've heard Democrats talk about a lot, even some Republicans concerned about this, in large part because by bolstering Medicaid work requirements and increasing eligibility checks, it means that people are going to fall off of healthcare coverage potentially and creates a lot of red tape here. Also, barring Medicaid and CHIP funding for gender-affirming care for minors, a continued attack on the LGBTQ plus community in this bill. Also, blocking Medicaid money from nonprofit reproductive health providers. When you hear people talking about defunding Planned Parenthood, that's this provision And it actually costs Republicans $300 million to do that. So it's not a cost saver in the end at all, though it does complete a policy priority Republicans have been pushing for a while there. And all in all, this means that 8.6 million Americans, according to the Congressional Budget Office, again, a nonpartisan group that scores or predicts what the impact of the legislation is, 8.6 million Americans will be without health insurance. The fact that these Medicaid work requirements now phase in 2026, earlier than they initially had been written, that placates some Republicans, but it also means that this is now squarely an election issue, as if it wasn't already. On food assistance, it's a similar story. It cuts $260 billion to SNAP, that's the food stamp program, requiring states to share SNAP costs by 2028. That's basically a big overhaul to the basic funding of this system. It also tightens work requirements for SNAP recipients, similar to what we see them doing on Medicaid.
Now, this is just a preliminary look of the bill. I haven't taken a look at the bill, the verbiage myself quite yet. I'm simply dependent on what the highlights are that's been placed in Washington Post and other places. And it is bad. It is bad. And the people that it harms the most, the ones that will be harmed the most, are those who voted for Trump. The lower end, the working class. Over the years, it takes all of their money and transfers it right up to the top. I mean, it is sad. But here's the thing. If you think that Trump is not, with this bill, isn't going to hurt you, my dear MAGA friends, because they teased you with a few things like no tax on tips, that really you weren't paying tax on tips if you made under a certain amount anyway. It is simply sad. Let me tell you, Oklahoma, very red state. They can't get FEMA help. We've got FEMA cuts and all kinds of cuts that they don't want to spend the money to help Oklahoma, who went through a lot of storms. And the governor of Oklahoma, Huckabee, served Trump directly. Josh Hawley was the one on January 6th giving the thumbs up. He was all for January 6th. He was all for protecting Donald Trump. Missouri got hit real bad by storms, and the Missouri mayor is begging for money. Josh Hawley is begging for money. Trump, please come to our assistance. Please listen to us. Trump saying, c'est la vie, bro. FEMA not reacting. Now, if this is happening for Missouri and Oklahoma with Republican governor, Republican senator, not only Republican governor or Republican senator, but MAGA governor and MAGA senator, and you can't get any help from Donald Trump. It's a grift. The guy is in it simply for what we said from the beginning. We told you so. The tariffs were to take all of your money and give it to the wealthy. All of you pay more at Walmart. All of you pay more at Target. All of you pay more in the grocery stores. And the more that you pay goes into the treasury to pay for this bill. Look, this is what we told you you were going to get. Now you got it. The question is, are you going to be smart enough to demand of the senators? The bill goes to the Senate now for conference, right? Not for conference, to put their version of the bill. And then it comes down to conference. It is on you now to ensure that the Senate doesn't take this bill up and just vote for it, because they can. The Senate can take this bill up and the Senate leader can say, okay, we're going to vote on this bill. And they just vote on the bill and pass it as is. They have the choice to do that. Only you can put the fear into those senators to stop them from doing it, to force them to change it and send it back to the House for conference. And then after it gets into conference, only you can make the change by talking to your individual congresspersons and saying, absolutamente no, absolutely no. It's in your hands. It's not over yet, but it's one step closer to being the major screw-in you've ever gotten. It's in your house right now to determine. All right, Howard is kicking me off. I just need to tell you guys, I love you all. Thank you for listening. I couldn't do this without you. We couldn't do this without you. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how we end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com. Publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those